Hey guys, it's the Evan and Katelyn podcast. The podcast now made with 100% renewable words. it's so funny because like that was the whole point. It's like renewable words.
And you lost your words.
I lost my words.
Good job.
And we got this intro from Andrew Bills. He had a great idea to like kind of contribute intros from you guys. So
Yeah.
if you want to contribute an intro for a podcast, maybe tag us on Twitter, maybe use the hashtag #EKPodcastIntro so that we can use yours. And that'll be kind of exciting.
We'll add it to the list.
We'll add it to the list because that will relieve something that is on our to-do.
We're really bad at
list
intros, so you guys are much better than us.
So in today's podcast, we're going to be talking about some of the past projects that we've done and how we might do them differently if we were to do them again with the new skills that we have. And also, we're going to be looking back at the decade of 2010 because it's almost 2020, and it'll be interesting to look back on the past decade and kind of see what this decade would be remembered for. Because I kind of think it's been there's a lot of things that have happened. And it'll be interesting to kind of look back and see what the past 10 years like.
So this is a podcast all about looking back.
All about looking back.
Tying it together.
I was going to make like a rear joke, like trying to like make it like your butt.
A rear joke.
Like your rear, you're behind.
But like you don't say the word rear. That's like what like your grandma says, and then she was like, "Get your rear end over here."
I'm trying to create like a family-friendly podcast.
Do you think the word butt isn't family-friendly?
No, it's family-friendly.
Okay.
Moving on. Let's talk about some updates, things that have been going on.
Sorry.
So on the main channel, I've just been learning so much about LEDs. We just did the buy versus DIY and the LED lamps, and I think the biggest thing I'm already looking back at past projects. This is already like only a few days ago. But like looking back, someone commented that we could have used RGB and white.
Yeah.
RGBW lights.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that would have been
so much
good.
better. Yeah. I mean, this is still really cool, but then we could have had it as an RGB light or a normal light.
Yeah. I'm kind of thinking like, should I order them and rip out the system that we have and replace it with a fancier system?
It's just sticky on us. Yeah.
That's one of the advantages of DIY instead of buy. You can change things.
Yeah.
You have the power.
Yes.
I think that might be kind of something I might want to do.
Yeah.
But it's just like we've been learning so much about LEDs, but it's so confusing because some of them are 3, some of them are 4, and the RGBW are 5. There's 5 contacts. So all of the little right angles and extensions and adapters that I got,
stuff we got,
it won't work.
No.
Now we need 5.
No.
No.
Oh, God.
In other news, updates on our podcast. It's kind of fun to like go to, news sites and just like search YouTube and see what comes up.
Oh yeah, it was really fun when I did that game
It's
for
so
you.
much fun. One thing that's been written about, and I'll link the article down below, it's at The Verge, but there's a big article about how YouTube has become one of the biggest destinations for podcasts.
Ooh, really?
Really?
That's interesting because, I mean, personally, even though we put our podcast on YouTube and podcast apps, I don't really watch podcast or listen to podcasts on YouTube. I just find it more convenient to do it in the podcast app.
But I think that like there's a lot of people starting podcasts and a lot of their viewers are on YouTube because think about podcasts. Well, think about how you guys find podcasts. You hear them through word of mouth, but finding podcasts is really tough.
Oh yeah. I've never just clicked on a podcast randomly and been like, well, I guess I'll just try it out. No, every single one has been suggested to me.
I've found a few podcasts on YouTube. I didn't really fully stick with them, but like YouTube is a great search and discovery platform.
Well, because if you just have your stuff, maybe we've talked about this before, but if you just have your podcast on podcast sites, there's not like an algorithm to suggest it to people, whereas YouTube has an algorithm.
Yeah, if you just make a podcast and you don't have a platform and you just put it on the podcast apps, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
To the best of my knowledge, nothing is going to happen.
Yeah, like you got to find other ways to get it out there.
And it's interesting, like some of the biggest podcasts like H3 and Joe Rogan, they both, what they do for SEO is they have a separate channel for clips.
Really?
So the H3 podcast has their highlight channel. So what they do is they do the long H3 podcast in full form, the full thing.
Yeah.
But then little blips, little segments, little things that would be good for SEO purposes, they break it out with a separate thumbnail, separate title, separate description.
Well, I knew that. But you're saying they have a different channel for the clips?
Yeah, and same with Joe Rogan.
Oh,
there's Joe Rogan, which is the long podcast.
And then there's like Joe Rogan clips.
And the clips are the things that go viral, that are shared, that are easy to consume.
And Joe Rogan,
Elon, like there's like the one clip where like Elon Musk like takes a hit of pot, and that clip on Joe Rogan's channel went big, and the podcast had a big benefit because of it.
But I wonder. So is the reason to not put them on the same channel because like people might get annoyed if they've listened to a whole episode or if they only want the little clip?
Well, because like let's say that in this episode we will talk about kind of like the past projects that we would tackle and our thoughts on
ours. Isn't a really good example. I feel like that works best with like
sensational elements.
Yeah. We're just like, here's what we did this week.
Yeah, but I think that like I think once you get bigger and once you're tackling bigger things or your word means more or like
you have more internet clout.
You have more internet clout. It certainly wouldn't make sense for us right now to have a separate channel. But like what if in the future we did for that reason?
Oh, it's interesting to think about.
It's interesting
to
think
about.
If
the podcast will ever like be that crazy.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what's in store for the future? I mean, Joe Rogan is on like what episode now? It's a lot. The number is high up there. So I mean, you never know what these things are going to turn into. But you're right. Our podcast is a humble one, but it is kind of interesting. I mean, and to give a caveat to this was a poll of Canadians. I don't know
of Canadians.
Yeah,
what was the poll of Canadians?
The poll was like YouTube is getting big in the podcast space, and they looked at a few podcasts that are big on YouTube. But the people, the
like
poll
all Canadian podcasts?
No.
I'm so confused.
The Verge did a poll, looked at a poll of like where do you go to consume podcasts, and 43% of the people polled said they go to YouTube.
That's interesting.
Which is really interesting. I mean, they're Canadian, so like they may have abnormal behaviors. I don't know. It didn't seem normal to me, but I'm like, hey, that's cool.
Well, I mean, actually, if you think about how people use YouTube, like for music too, which you typically, like, that's not how I listen to music, but so many people use YouTube for music. You don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Like
it's all in one app.
It's all in one app. Like, everything's in one app.
Yeah, you have YouTube and you have like your
shows, your music, and your podcast.
Anything you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can just subscribe to just what you want.
So I can kind of see it because that's how people listen to music a lot too.
Yeah. But isn't it so crazy that people have clips for SEO and shareable purposes?
Well, no, that 100% makes sense.
I know, but like I didn't really think of it.
Oh, no, I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's like why you pull it out, because that gets shared. A 2-hour-long podcast isn't going to go viral.
No.
But a 10-minute clip is.
Or even like a 2-minute clip.
Or 2 minutes.
Whatever
clip,
it is.
Whatever. You know what I'm saying. The length doesn't matter.
But you've thought that we should, or that. Like,
no, I haven't thought that we should. There's no point for us.
But you've thought about other channels doing it and why they do it?
Channels that are super, super big on YouTube or podcasts that are super, super big on YouTube, 100%.
Yeah.
I guess people aren't going to share 2-hour.
I guess I just hadn't thought of like the reasons why you would. I've seen the HD podcast and their highlights and the Joe Rogan clips, but I just hadn't thought of the reasons why.
The thing I hadn't thought about is having a separate channel for the clips.
Yeah.
But
that also makes sense.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense because like if you're a full podcast listener, you don't also want the clips of stuff you've already watched. And if you're only a clips watcher, you don't want to be bogged down with the full podcast.
And what's interesting, both podcasts, the podcasts are bigger, but the clips get a lot of views too, especially for their length.
Yeah.
So I think the clips are like shared around more externally and it pulls people in
to the podcast.
And they like see a clip and they're, oh, and they see another clip and they're like, oh, I've seen this before. I should probably just watch the full podcast. Okay. Yeah. Another subscriber.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Really interesting. Revisiting a topic from last time, one thing that came up in my searches of YouTube news again is the kids content, people shifting away from kid content. But it was interesting because they interviewed some YouTube creators and the ways that they're changing are really interesting. Like some people are changing their names from kid-friendly names to more normal names. Like
so, what's like a normal versus kid-friendly name?
Like Froggy was changed to Toya.
Toya?
I mean, that's still a little bit.
Is that just a name?
I think that's their name. Their name is Toya.
Oh, okay.
But they're going by like a stage name of Froggy, so now they're going to be Toya instead, which is like a more serious name. And they're updating the style of their thumbnails to make it like less kiddish and like more like, and like they're using different words instead of toys. They're using miniatures or figurines or like stuff like that.
I understand that, but at the same time, like, isn't it still, are they changing the content too?
They're also changing the content. Yeah, they're saying they're like moving to more lifestyle, more vlogs, more like, but like at the same time, would that ruin the channel?
I mean, it would certainly make the channel like, well, the whole point is to have a different audience.
Yeah.
So they're gonna isolate the old audience and have to find a new audience.
Yeah. Some people are saying that they're like launching like their own website or like, a website away from their main content on YouTube where they'll put the kid stuff. So they'll still do the kid stuff, but it'll be like kind of separate from their main stuff. And they're kind of like separating it. So then the kid stuff won't pull down their other stuff.
That's so interesting.
There's like an art channel that did like a mix of different types of art videos, some for, normal people and some targeted towards kids. And they're like, either they said they're leaving up their old kid content. They're not going to do any more. The new kid content is going on a different website, hosting differently.
Dang.
And it's going to be separate. And if their main content starts suffering because their kid content is pulling it down, they're going to remove all their past kid content, put it just up on their website.
Dang, this is some pretty drastic stuff.
It's pretty drastic. Some people might be overreacting, but some people might be like trying to get ahead of it.
Can you imagine if like we had to just get rid of like half of our content?
Oh, stab, twist, salt.
That would suck.
That'd suck.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's really crazy. Okay, main topic. I didn't actually fully prepare this, but because I think that would just like walk through things organically.
Okay.
But if we could go back and remake some past projects, not that would ever really want to, because that seems like
Once we're done, we're done.
once we're done, we're done. But if we were to remake them, how would we change them? I think that like one thing that I notice frequently enough that it stuck with me is the laundry room. There's this one so we remade our laundry room and we put countertops over everything. I love how it looks. It looks great. It functions really well, except on the right-hand side of the freezer, it kind of shifts.
Oh yeah,
a little
because
bit.
Those panels we just stuck on, so they're not permanently adhered.
And we didn't even stick it on once. We stuck it on, removed it, and restuck it on
again.
So it's like old sticky adhesive trying to hold it on. It kind of slips and slides.
Slips a little bit. I don't notice it that much just because, like, I don't know. I notice it sometimes. But to me...
It bothers me.
I guess to me it doesn't bother me that much because it's like, well...
We so rarely use it.
Well, no, not that. But more because, like, it seems like an easy fix. Like, oh, if it gets worse, we'll just do new adhesive.
Yeah, well, the main change that I would do is I just was being lazy by that point. I'd cut so many panels. I'd cut so many pieces of wood. We'd done so many glue ups and joints. I just wanted to be done. So I just made an L. I would have made it a full box so it wouldn't slide, so that like the weight of the end wouldn't push down and it would be supported all the way around. And then I think it'd be really, really stable. Because right now it's just an L with a panel that we've stuck to the side of the freezer. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
Kind of.
It's all in my head. I did the 3D model.
Yeah, I'm worrying if I'm having a hard time picturing it and I was there, that other people might have a hard time picturing it.
Okay, let's summarize this. I would have spent more time in the construction phase
of the panels for
the panels because I was kind of like towards the end I was like, let's just go.
Yeah, you were
This
so
is good
done.
enough. I was so done. But I would have spent a little bit more time to make it a little bit more well supported so that it didn't rely on the adhesive as much. It relied on the structure of the wood a little bit more.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I have one that I think about a decent amount.
What's that?
So the built-ins in the guest room.
Oh, yeah.
So-
How everyone complains that we wasted space.
Yeah, but that's not just a complaint other people have.
Oh, it's a complaint you have.
Pretty strongly.
Really?
Yeah. So, okay, so just so you can picture it if you haven't seen it, in our guest room, we made a Murphy bed and we did some DIY built-ins on either side. And one of the things that I had been looking at on Pinterest, like since I got my first apartment and I discovered Pinterest, was these IKEA hacks where people would get like IKEA bookshelves, trim them out, caulk all the seams, and it would look like these amazing built-ins.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my freaking gosh, this is magic. And I wanted to do it for so long. And we finally had the opportunity to do it. The thing is, the cabinets that we got were not exactly the size that like I had like mismeasured the height we needed or like the width we needed or something. And then we ordered these cabinets and they were a lot smaller than expected, but because it was like the video was on the schedule, it was sponsored, all this stuff, we didn't have time to get new cabinets.
And we didn't have time to make new ones or make our own.
We didn't have time to make our own. And like some people can do it where like they just add the shelves and leave the walls and you see the walls on either side, but our walls are super uneven and they have like a really prominent texture to them. So it would have been super obvious that we just like slap stuff against the walls and it would not have looked good. So it was like we have to either get super precise and make our own 2 entire cabinets, which we really didn't want to do and we didn't have time to do, or we got to like make these ones we bought work and like build the trim around them. And so
there's a lot of empty space there.
Yeah, like it's still shelves that didn't exist before in a space that would have been kind of wasted anyway. But I do wish, like my hope originally for that was that I could fit baskets on those shelves and put like bedding for the guest bed in there.
Oh, yeah.
And the baskets that fit are so tiny that like we have some stuff in there, but not much.
You couldn't even fit a pillow.
No, you couldn't. You could maybe fit a throw pillow, a tiny one. And so again, like we're not going to redo it. And that's definitely one that like we will never redo. It is in place. But
one thing, when we move out, what are we going to do?
Just leave it.
Just leave it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
If someone doesn't like the Murphy bed,
they can do it.
They can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can rip it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think of it as kind of like a feature.
Yeah.
Especially because we did it so nice that even if that was someone's full-time bedroom,
yeah,
like it, because of the built-ins, it like is nice.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, it doesn't look like a Murphy bed necessarily. Yeah. But anyways, that's one that I would redo. There's also a ton of things that like I am totally happy with and I wouldn't change a thing about, but I think it's more interesting to hear the things that like we would change.
One thing I might change is when we did the marble pours on the antiques. I painted white paint on the top of mine, and that white paint smoothed out the texture of the antique to the point that the resin didn't have anything to grip on. And eventually the resin just popped out.
It did pop out.
It just popped out, and it's still usable if you keep stuff on there. But if you pick it up, you can so tell that the marble popped out, and it's pretty jank.
Yeah. It is a little jank. I forgot about that. Yeah, mine worked, but mine had like right angles.
Yep.
So the resin, even though I painted mine too, it could adhere on the sides as well. There was just a lot more surface area contact, whereas yours was like a smooth thing. Mm-hmm. So I think it was easier for it to pop out.
One thing I would have totally done differently if I'd have known that it existed is use the RGBW lights on that, but we already brought that up. I mean, that's kind of a dumb point to say.
Are you bringing up the light again? You just
light
said
again.
On that.
I pointed to the lamp.
Yeah. I just had to call you out on that because, like, here we are talking about marble, and you're like, I'd put some RGB LEDs on that.
Well, now that you mention it. Okay. Oh, I know what I'll do. Go back to every single resin project and add glow powder to all of them.
Oh, yeah. That would be cool.
Could you imagine the
like the geodes glowing?
Geode tables, or all the geodes glowing at night?
That'd be pretty
when we
sweet.
turn off the lights.
That'd be pretty sweet.
That'd be pretty sweet.
I do think one thing that is one that we get the most questions about that I wouldn't really change at all is the catio.
Oh yeah, that people say like, do you want to make it bigger eventually?
I mean, I might make it bigger eventually, but like she really likes it. She goes out there several times a day. I think like if we were gonna make it bigger, I'd be open to that, but I don't like regret making it the size it is. You know what I mean? Like if we did another one in the future, I might make a bigger one. But I just think it's cool that she uses it multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is neat because a lot of people are like, especially with cats, like cats lose interest and stuff. So a lot of people wonder if she still uses it, but she does.
Yeah. One thing I would have done differently is for our bucket stools, I would have used bigger buckets. I mean, that's a very, very simple thing, but like at the same time, it affects the functionality a lot.
I would have gotten shorter legs.
Oh, yeah.
So they're more like tiny stools instead of bar stools.
Oh, yeah.
Because...
But the interesting thing is this. if you had have made them tiny stools, where would we have put them and how would we have used them?
Yeah, that's a good point. Because they're more like bar stools, I use them as plant stands.
Yeah, so they're being used now,
Yeah, that's true.
but they're not being used as stools.
No. A lot of people would commented at the end of that video, like, you guys didn't even sit on them. But it's because the resin was still wet when we filmed the outro.
We're like, wow, look at this. No way I'm going to sit on it.
Nope, not sitting.
Yeah, because I
Had
think
to finish the outro.
yeah, but I think that like we were in kind of rush mode then with like the schedule. We didn't have a lead.
No, we the lead we have now is very recent.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, that explains a lot of what goes on with a lot of these videos, things not being right. One that completely was different. I mean, we let this out in the after show, but like I guess we'll share the secret now. On the door, the fancy door for our bedroom.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, guys. So we showed in the video how it didn't stick.
Here, let's give people background. We
Okay.
can't assume people have seen these videos.
Okay, yeah.
So we redid our closet doors in our bedroom, and we had redone doors before, and just I think we had sanded them and then painted, but on these ones we forgot to. And so we just painted right over them, and as we were hanging them for the final shots, we realized that the paint was coming off.
Yes. And like so easily. You just like pet the door
Yeah.
and a sheet of paint basically would
come
come
off.
off.
Yeah.
So we finished filming the video and we made it all work, but we shot the final shots with the bad paint.
Yeah.
With the paint that was peeling off just because we didn't have enough time to restrip it, repaint it, redo everything.
And get the final shots.
And get the final shots.
We realized that it was wrong like the day before the video had to go live.
Yeah, so what we did is we filmed the final shots, then we destroyed it, filmed the repainting of it, the very beginning of it, because you need multiple coats and it takes a long time.
Yeah, so we
And
filmed
then
like the stripping and the repainting, and then we like
stitched it all together.
We cut back to the after shots, which was really the before we realized anything was wrong shots.
Yeah, so if I were to go back and redo that, I would not make that mistake. And even right now, I think that when I repainted them, I was like so angry.
I feel like a lot of the things are like Evan was rushed and angry. Evan was annoyed.
I'm not an angry person, but like my biggest thing is like redoing things. I've mentioned it many times. I just can't stand
Having to redo
inefficiencies and repeating things that didn't need to be repeated.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm so glad that we don't have any regrets about, that I don't have any regrets about, is our garage makeover.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. I love the garage makeover.
I just don't know if I'd change almost anything. I can't think of anything.
I can't. Yeah. I mean, anything that I think of that I'm like, man, it'd be nice to have that in the garage, it requires a significantly bigger garage.
Yeah.
I think what we did with the space we have, I wouldn't change anything. Like with the constraints we were working with, I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. And there were even like some happy accidents
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, we had planned to do just the tall cabinets all across the back, and I don't even remember what, we had measured wrong.
Oh, yeah. We were going
Because
to
we
do
were going to do tall cabinets across the back and short cabinets above those, but we measured wrong. The short cabinets wouldn't fit on top of the tall cabinets, so we had to do like this other thing. Anyways.
It all worked out in the
It all
end.
worked out. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really glad about everything about that. One thing I'd change about our soap making, when we made all the tiny soaps, I wish the soaps had been bigger so they would have been a little bit more usable.
Yeah, I mean, I do see that, but like, because the video was all about experimenting with different techniques and stuff, like,
We would have had to waste a lot more soap.
would have to use, I mean, maybe it would be less of a waste because they'd be more usable, but like, we're not going to use all those soaps. There's so many soaps.
No, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. One thing I would do if I redid the Ethernet running through the attic again, I would also run, instead of just one HDMI, I would have 3 HDMIs.
Yeah.
Because then, well, we didn't know. So for the streaming right now, as the people watching our YouTube video can see, there's the camera that's filming us, and that runs up through the wall into the attic and over to our podcasting station, our desk over here, which is really nice and really convenient for recording podcasts and everything.
That means we don't have an HDMI cable running across the room.
Yeah, but also when we play games on our 2 main editing computers over there too, where the camcorder is. And right now, in order to get the signal over here, we have two Steam Link, which is like a network-enabled HDMI and sound transfer piece of hardware. And then it's a little bit buggy, and it's a little bit not the best. I wonder how to say that. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. So I wish I had have done that because it would have come in handy later.
Yeah, but we're not going up in the attic again.
No more accidents. No more
attic.
No more attic.
We'll save it for next summer.
No.
We always do attic projects in the summer.
Maybe this winter we're just gonna have to like brainstorm. Is there anything we need to do in the attic before it gets insanely hot?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's too much else I'd change.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking through our videos, and of course it's like not everything worked out perfect, but I think most of the things that I had thought of that were like things that I might change are things that are parts of the house now. Like they're more structural to the place we live in. I think it's because like the laundry room, the guest room, the catio. It's like things that we don't use the catio.
Yeah.
The things that like we use every day.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of times things that are like standalone things like I'm just looking around here like the DIY tile clocks or like our twisted veneer art. Or, candle holders or whatever that we've made.
We don't really interact with them
too much. They're just there and we see them.
Yeah.
But I think the things that we interact with more are the things that, like, changes pop into your mind more.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
One thing that we did go back and revisit, I think we talked about it in a past episode, but we did go back and revisit our very first video, the IKEA mom dresser hack, and we just made more of them.
Another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's it. I think you're right because so many of the things that we interact with, we might have thoughts on, but a lot of things we don't really interact with.
Yeah, they're just like cool or pretty.
Most of the furniture that we've made has held up really well.
Oh, I love the furniture we've made.
Yeah, the DIY $9 side table. Oh, it's so solid.
Our 2x4 side table?
Our 2x4 side table, it's super solid, and we use it all the time, like every day, and it's held up amazingly.
Our walnut entry table.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Our walnut coffee table.
Oh, so pretty.
With the live edge, yeah.
Yeah, so all of our furniture is held up great.
We haven't made any furniture in a while, but like, I guess the desk was kind of the last.
Yeah.
This desk was kind of the last big furniture piece we made.
I guess we just need to make more big furniture pieces.
The hard thing is like we run out of space. And I know a lot of maker channels are just like, screw it, I'm making another coffee table. And they've done, 5 coffee tables, but I have a really hard time doing that because then like, I mean, if you have like a family member you can give it to, you can do that. But like otherwise, what do you do with it?
Also, the raw materials cost money.
Yeah, that's true. Especially if you're doing something nice like out of walnut.
Yeah, especially slabs.
Very expensive. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like you're going to spend a lot more money than you would if you just like bought something at IKEA.
Yeah, I know some people just give it away. And I'm like, that'd be so hard.
I mean, I could if it was like friends or family maybe, but.
Yeah, but all of our friends and family have fully furnished houses and apartments too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they can't really do much. Yeah. That's interesting. Trip down memory lane. Mm-hmm. Speaking of trips down memory lane, you know what I haven't thought of recently?
What's that?
Our websites at evanandcaitlinpodcast.com and evanandcaitlingaming.com. Do you know why?
Because they're with Squarespace.
And we don't have to worry about maintaining them.
Squarespace is a sponsor. This is a sponsored segment.
Yes, disclaimer. I think that one of my favorite things about Squarespace is that it doesn't become a to-do.
Yes. Because I think one of the fears of starting something like starting your own website is like once you start it, there's all this maintenance you have to do, plugin updates and this and that. And yeah, with Squarespace, you just start it and then you're good.
And you know what? Like, do you know how I judge companies?
Based on their websites.
Yeah, it's like
100%.
If I get like a phone call or advertisement or like I'm about to go to like anywhere, anytime I'm about to use a company, I go to the website and I judge them.
Yeah, me too.
And if you want to be judged,
well,
you need a good website, and Squarespace is a great place to set up that website. Whether you're wanting to sell things or just start up your online presence or, start a new company.
Display the things that you made.
Yeah. You can go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to pull the trigger, you can go to squarespace.com/EvanandCaitlinPodcast.
For 10% off.
Yeah.
And so squarespace.com/EvanandCaitlinPodcast.
Thank you guys for supporting our sponsors who support us, because they make these podcasts possible.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you guys. Thank you, everyone.
Now, another place where I just keep on going to places where it's easy to get content. One of those places is Ask Reddit.
Oh,
It's
I love Ask Reddit.
And it's really great. They ask really interesting questions, especially the ones that get a lot of upvotes. One question that was asked over there was, in less than 4 months, it will be 2020. What do you think that 2010s will be remembered for?
So Evan has told me specifically to not. You wrote down some of the most popular answers. Right?
I wrote down some of those popular answers. I wonder. Let's play it Family Feud style. Let's guess how many of these things you're going to hit. Like the most popular things.
Okay. So this is for like the 2010 to 2020 period. Okay.
And let's give the audience a little bit to guess here. Like, think of the things that like
define the 2010s.
Define the 2010s.
So just so I can picture it in my head. So when this period started, 2010 is when I got my first apartment. We started dating in 2011. So it's basically the time period in which we started dating till now.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So obviously us dating.
Defined the decade.
Defines the decade. No. I mean, there's got to be something about Trump.
There was something about
unique
political
politics.
Like political the fall of polite politics.
Okay. Yeah, that's a nicer way to put it.
Yeah.
The fall of polite
there was
politics.
a little bit of that. It wasn't the biggest thing.
Okay. Maybe I'm just thinking of that because it's fresher. It's in the more recent.
It is a little bit more fresh.
Okay. Let me think.
I'm not sure if that fully defines it.
No.
Though.
I mean, it's really hard to think of things being fully defined. Social media was pretty big even before that.
Keep on going down that path.
Okay. Well, I mean, I had social media before this, but it was mostly just Facebook.
Yeah, but how did social media change since we've been dating?
Well, it changed for us differently than it changed for other people.
Yeah, but what's a big group of people that are kind of
kids?
Very influential now?
There's influencers.
You got there. You got it. You got it. Yeah.
I should have done that one first.
I'm like, no, go down that path. Go down that path.
Okay.
Because that's a huge thing.
It is huge.
Huge.
Changed marketing. It changed how people use social media.
It changed so much.
It changed what the definition of a celebrity is.
I think that that was the universal number one answer on Reddit. Now Reddit is a particular subgroup of people. It's not indicative of the entire US's or the world's views on things, but at the same time, I mean, I think it is huge in the past 10 years. Influencers didn't exist 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
They didn't even exist.
That's true.
And now they're so powerful. They're making headlines. They're, starting brand new companies. They're becoming multimillionaires. Like some of the most successful new people. I think that, I mean, I don't want to I don't know where she falls in the spectrum, but Kylie Jenner or whatever, she started her makeup line and she became one of the richest people, the youngest, richest people in a very short amount of time. But I mean, that's kind of slightly through TV, but it was also through her Instagram and all that she's built up around it.
I don't really consider her a traditional.
Yeah,
I think of an influencer as someone who didn't have ties to traditional media beforehand.
I agree. You know
with what I mean? Because otherwise, you're just a TV personality that was able to ride your 15 minutes of fame into something bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think that is one of the biggest things that have changed.
Yeah. How many things are there?
There are a decent amount.
Do you agree with all the ones that you have written down?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got 1.5, kind of.
What was the half?
I don't know. I got two. I got 3/4 and 3/4.
Wait.
Of both questions. Of both of mine.
So you got social media and influencers. I think that was those are tied. That's one thing.
Yeah. I kind of got the politics.
Oh, the politics. Oh yeah.
It was
Now on that same.
I got 3/4 of the way there to both of them.
Now on that same path, not just with politics, but with people reacting to things in general.
Fake news.
Fake news and kind of maybe
distrust of media.
Yeah, and also instead of people looking at things themselves, they very quickly.
Well, so jump to
I'm like,
conclusions.
yeah.
You're trying to give me to say specific words. So I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. I feel like people have all, I feel like for a longer time, people haven't like cross-checked the sources. Like normal consumers weren't cross-checking sources. But here's the difference. I think now there's a lot of people like reporting sites that don't cross-check sources. And I think that's
true.
That's where the issue is. It's like,
Well,
of
but
course,
also people,
of course, all people in the best ideal world, all individuals would cross-check what they read. But like, if you're cross-checking what you read against something else, what if that other thing hasn't been cross-checked?
But I think it's with the rise of social media, it kind of ties in with the misinformation and knee-jerk reactions because, 10 years ago, where did you get the news? You got the news from like a very small amount of sources that kind of had certain standards, hopefully, even if they might have a bias leaning one way or another. It's like...
Well, here's the difference now.
Yeah.
The difference now is...
Someone can tweet and it just goes crazy.
Well, no. Well, that's part of it, but that's not what I was going to say. Like, if the... Like, okay, let me back up a sec. So traditional news sources were funded by subscriptions.
Yes.
Like for
even if it's like through TV
even if it's
or
online,
cable or whatever.
Yeah, online or TV. Well, TV is also funded by advertisers because it's like there's ads.
Yeah,
on
and
TV.
subscriptions in
but,
the way.
But here,
okay.
Hear me out. So like newspapers and magazines and like online news sources, you would pay subscriptions.
Yeah.
That model doesn't work anymore because there's so many people submitting free news out there. So they had to go to an advertising-based model. So now, instead of people paying for their subscription and they just stick with that source, everybody's free and everybody's based off ads and everyone's trying to get the most views for their ads.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
So they
if you have subscriptions, then it's like, well, okay, I just need enough subscribers, but they don't all have to read every article or watch every video.
So then they go for the clickbait headlines.
So then even the legit news sources are going for clickbait headlines.
Oh. Because it's like...
And then everything is clickbait.
It's an attention economy and everyone's competing for your attention because everything is free except your attention pays because there's ads.
Yeah, so there's a lot more competition.
Yeah. So people write more and more sensational headlines, even if the headline is misleading.
Yep.
And the details are more nuanced. And because people are lazy, they just read the headlines.
Yep.
And you get misinformation.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Thank you.
You should be a news analyst.
Thanks.
Part-time.
Yeah.
Evan
Not
and
really.
Katelyn full-time. That's really interesting. Yeah. Another thing that makes news more widely accessible wherever you are and that people might have gotten addicted to.
Phones.
Wow, Katelyn. You just like...
You're making this too easy. You like started saying that and then you like pick up your phone slowly. Smartphones.
I think that those have like spread a ton in the past like 10 years.
Yeah.
And now people have smartphones instead of computers. Some people do.
Yeah,
or like
that's true.
tablets.
Well, and in college, my smartphone was like a semi-dumb phone.
Yeah.
It was like, it had some smart-esque things, but not really.
And I had a smartphone back then. I had like the original Google Android, the very first Android phone.
Well, not all of us.
And I loved that thing.
Had
Man,
that.
that thing was like almost better than this. Almost better than like the current day ones, except it was slower. But it had a flip out screen and a keyboard. And I installed emulators on there. Anyways, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, what the 2010s will be
2010s.
remembered for.
Yeah.
But I think that smartphones, the rise of smartphones and how like smartphones are becoming like such a necessity almost.
Yeah. It's like a basic need for like a lot of people.
Yeah, because like 10 years ago, there weren't all these apps that everyone needed on their phones. There wasn't like all of that going on. I mean, even back then, even though I had a smartphone, I never used it for social media. When I wanted to do Facebook or something,
You got on your
I'd go to my computer.
Yeah.
Like a normal person.
Yeah. I really only used mine for like texting.
Oh, yeah, your phone?
Yeah. Back in like college and stuff. I didn't use it for pictures because the camera was so terrible. I didn't use it for social media because like I don't even know if I had apps. I just had like built-in things.
Yeah, yours wouldn't have had apps. I think mine had apps that I can install. But all I did was install emulators. And very nerdy things like cool calculators and stuff. Wow, I'm a nerd. But I think the rise of smartphones is a huge thing. And I think that all ties like the rise of smartphones, I think, might actually be the driver for the other two things.
For like
Social media,
and-
influencers, and the spread of news going so fast, misinformation.
Yeah. I mean, it
and,
definitely
like,
helped facilitate. Because people could access that stuff on the go anywhere. You didn't have to be sitting down at a computer.
And now, like, the whole drive of everyone is to addict you to your phone and all the notifications. And that's why everyone wants to send you notifications because they want you to spend the time in that app.
So I'm going to take a guess at another one.
Okay, go for it.
The fall of cable.
Yeah. Continued fall of traditional media.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like at a faster pace.
At a faster
because,
pace.
Because traditional media has been kind of like declining in revenue for a while.
Oh, really? Even like TV? Even before the 2010s?
But also just think about magazines.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I was thinking more cable. But yeah, magazines and stuff, print media has been declining for a while.
Well, also, it's really interesting. I mean, if you look at the population of the United States, for example, and there's an interesting podcast about the median American, or no, median?
Mode?
The mode American. Like, if you were to go out and try to find someone who is like the person you would most likely run into, and it was kind of us. Like our age group is like the most, like, there's the most people our age. There's more people our age than there are any other age.
Yeah, which is younger than I expected.
Which is younger than I expected.
kinda
Because
think-
there's like the boomers, the baby boomers, and after it, like the people who study populations and stuff that were called like the echo. They call us the echo, like the boom of the
we're
echo.
the echo? Oh,
Yeah.
because our
We're
parents were
the
baby
echo of the
boomers?
boom.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So also like millennials and Gen Z or whatever this whole age range is. But like with this group being like the biggest population, because there's like the average is in between the baby boomers and us, but there's very few people that age.
Interesting.
It's like if you look at the age distribution on a graph, there's a huge like hump of people our parents' age, and then there's a huge lump of people our age.
Oh, and if you had taken the mean, it'd be in between, but there's not that many people there.
There's not that many people there.
That's interesting.
So the in air quotes average, the mean average is like the least populous age in the United States.
Yeah. Which
It's
is why it's interesting to look at how different types of averages can yield different results.
Yeah, but I mean, like in the past 10 years, our age range has been the most like emerging buying age in the market.
That is interesting.
And how many people around our age do you know that like pay for magazines?
Oh, no one.
No one.
Yeah.
So I
Won't pay
think
for
like
anything.
I think that like as we've been entering the economy, we've been killing
Traditional media.
traditional media.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's been like a slow decline for a while, but it's just
But we're also giving life to new things.
yeah,
Like,
so true.
And some of those aren't, it's not all just like free stuff that we watch ads for. It's also like Netflix and Hulu streaming
Yeah.
and like stuff like that.
We just want the
Like
choice.
people pay for a lot. I think some people, I heard a lot of people say they pay just as much, like with because they have to buy every single
Yep,
streaming
yep,
service.
yep.
They pay just as much as they would for cable, but it's like you still have more of a choice.
Yeah.
And when you pay
And
for
a
the
lot
streaming
of them-
services, you don't have to watch ads.
Oh, I hate ads. I was somewhere and I was the TV was on and there were ads and I was like, God dang it, freaking ads! I can't do it anymore. Sorry if that was loud. Okay, take another guess at another thing.
Okay. Let's see if there's anything else I can think of.
What would be another thing that our generation would be more likely to do than past generations? It seems.
Well, this maybe isn't the thing you're thinking of, and I'm mainly thinking of YouTube when I say this, but I feel like there's a lot more ability for people to teach themselves things.
Ooh, yeah, that's interesting.
Just because like before, if you wanted to learn something, you had to like go to a library or find someone that knew. Like, I didn't know how to do my makeup when I was in high school. One of my friends kind of showed me a few things. Now you can be 11 and like binging a billion makeup videos and do like the perfect cut crease cat eye. You know what I mean?
I mean, like your younger cousin does know how to do the perfect cut crease cat eye
She does.
because of YouTube.
Because of YouTube. But
Yeah.
it could be for woodworking.
Yeah.
It could be for programming.
Cam's Corner. He learned all this, woodworking stuff on YouTube, and
Yeah.
he's become like a part of the community, even though he is
Young.
a lot younger.
Yeah. So I feel like there's a lot more ability for people to like take it upon themselves to learn new skills
Yeah.
for free and like have easy access to that.
Yeah.
And that's mostly with like, I mean, it's YouTube, but there's also things like Instructables and WikiHow and like a bunch of other and blogs,
Yeah.
that show you how to do stuff.
It's like an increase in open learning.
Yeah.
That's
Free and open learning.
Free and open learning.
Yeah.
That's a great change.
Thanks.
That's very positive.
Thanks.
One more positive thing that came up a lot in the thread was more open discussion of personal issues or like mental
like
health.
mental health and stuff,
and just everything in general. Like, on YouTube, people talk about burnout and all sorts of things in very public ways that like would totally not have happened in older generations.
An interesting thing that's related, and this is also, I've read these on Ask Reddits, but there's been some Ask Reddits in the past where people are like, okay, teachers of Reddit, what is something different about students now than students, back when you were a kid?
Yeah.
And one of the most common answers is that kids are a lot more open about talking about their feelings, talking about their emotions, talking about mental health, being accepting of other types of people.
Yeah.
And that is a really interesting and positive thing.
I wonder if that's also because of the internet.
I think it's because of the internet. You see other people sharing.
I mean, like the downside of the internet being anonymous is you can spread hate, but also you can open up anonymously and you can get support on a lot of different places, and opening up and getting that support in an anonymous way might help you open up in person.
Well,
or also
to me, I think, maybe that is part of it, but I think it's seeing like influencers and other people open up makes it more, you feel more okay to open up about stuff.
Well, but also in the past, like let's say that you were having a feeling, you were feeling, depressed or lonely, or you were, confused about X, Y, or Z. In the past, without like the internet and everyone sharing all this information and sharing all their experiences, you couldn't just like find other people going through the same situation that you're going through. And I mean, there's examples on Reddit that I've seen of like, on the internet, you can find anyone going through the same thing as you. And one person had like all these specific requirements, like, okay, what about this? And someone else was like, yep, me too, buddy. So it's like, you feel a lot less alone because everyone's connected into the same hub in a way.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And not feeling alone is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And now there were other like slightly more niche conversations. I think we hit on everything that you would be likely to guess.
Okay.
I think without more prompting.
Can you try to guide me?
Yeah, okay. So what is a trend within movies and TV?
Superhero movies.
Yeah, superheroes.
Yeah.
Superheroes, a huge change in superheroes.
I feel mixed about because some of the superhero movies I really, really like. But on the other hand, I'm kind of like, okay, can we do something else too?
Yeah, but it's so crazy. Like Green Arrow, there's the
it all
Shield.
started with Iron
there's
Man,
like,
which came out when we were in college.
Yeah.
Which was just a little bit before 2010.
and like explosion of superheroes.
Explosion.
Everything is superheroes now.
Everything.
It's insane because for the longest time it really wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the 2010s are the decade of superheroes.
Superhero movies. That's so true.
And with like I'm not sure what Marvel's going to do going forward. Like, are they going to wrap this up, or are they going to keep on rolling with?
Are they going to do like an alternate universe?
Yeah.
Like the way there's been so many Spider-Mans.
Just like restart it again, but with slightly different characters or something.
I do get kind of annoyed. Like, okay, so I'll use Spider-Man as an example.
Yeah.
The recent Spider-Mans, like the Homecoming,
Yeah.
like that storyline of Spider-Man, I
Good.
like. Spider-Verse, I loved. But like the other ones I wasn't crazy about. And I'm also like, can we stop doing Spider-Mans? Like stop doing new Spider-Mans?
Yeah, let's just like keep this one going for a while. It's good.
Yeah, but it's just like weird to me that something could be recreated so frequently.
Yeah.
That's like the same characters.
I feel like there have been like some Spider-Mans that came out like a year
within
apart.
a year, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
It's
why?
like, new Spider-Man. There's a new one.
It's like I just got attached to the old one, you know.
I mean,
Well, maybe not attached, but like
you accept it.
I accepted the old one as how Spider-Man is in the movies now.
They're just trying to be like
Change
James
it.
Bond. They're just trying to be like 007, a new 007 every few years.
See, and that bothers me too.
Okay, what about this? A trend in design / aesthetic.
I can think of two things. They're kind of related. So if you're talking like home design type stuff, I mean, I think like modern, like mid-century modern, wasn't as big when we were in college. You're not saying anything, so I'm thinking.
Keep on going.
Here's
what was the
another
other thing? Yeah.
Minimalism.
Minimalism.
Okay.
Everyone said minimalism.
Okay. I
And
tie when I think of design aesthetic,
yeah.
I tie those two together because modern's very minimal.
What's flat design?
I know what I picture in my head. What I picture in my head is things that don't have a lot of embellishments, which tend to be more modern.
Flat design.
Oh, like for interface. Well, that's different than interior design. Yeah, flat design.
Okay, so
it's
those are like the two different parts, minimalism and flat design.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I thought you were talking more like home decor design.
No, it was both. It was just like design aesthetic in
Oh.
general. Like what are people's aesthetics leaning towards?
Oh, yeah, flat for sure, as opposed to like, it's like flat and cell shaded when you're talking about...
It's like Kurzgesagt.
Yeah,
In
like
a nutshell,
Kurzgesagt,
that's flat design.
Yeah, or
That's
like
interesting.
every Google icon. And it's interesting because there's been phases. There's also the phase of like everything has a gradient.
Oh,
there's
no.
the phase of like faux 3D.
Yeah.
Like there's been so many phases, and there's some articles you can look up. Used to look at this stuff because I was in graphic design. There's some articles you can look up that'll like take a logo and say like how it would have looked in 2000, how it would have looked in 2010, and you're like, oh my gosh, yes.
Yes. But like
interesting.
in general, like the minimalism and flat design kind of has spread everywhere.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But I think minimalism is like a good generalization because even like a mid-century modern that has some minimalist elements to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it is minimal because like traditional furniture had a lot more embellishments. There was a little swirly do here and
a little gibble and bop there.
A little bibbum, little beebity bop there. Whereas modern stuff is more simple lines, no embellishment.
Yeah. Okay, and this is one that came up strangely. What do you think about a trend in restaurants?
Probably more things that are emphasizing like local cuisine. They're more hipstery, less chains.
Yeah. Moving away from chain restaurants in general towards like food trucks, locally owned restaurants, and like, you know, people like gave all these examples. And now at the same time, a lot of smaller towns are still getting chains, and the chains are still doing well in some parts of the world.
I mean, like, chains are still spreading. In-N-Out is a chain. And they're finally building one in Houston.
Yes. But I think like in general, this decade has seen like an explosion in locally owned.
I think it's because the change is people are willing to pay more.
Oh.
You know?
That's interesting.
Whereas before, I think like the chains were less expensive and they were more known. I have
oh
an
my gosh.
theory. Well, I have an interesting theory.
I fight this though because man, if you go to like Red Robin's Burger, those burgers are some of the most expensive burgers you can get.
Well, yeah, that's true. I'm saying in general, like a lot of the more boutique local restaurants can be more expensive because like they don't have the economies of scale of a big chain. But here's an interesting thing. So before, like pre-2010, there was a lot less access to online reviews about restaurants. So if you saw something new, you may not go. Whereas like if you go to Chili's, you know it's going to be, hey, welcome to Chili's.
You're
you know
so
what's on
right.
the menu.
Goes back to smartphones. Because
but now,
you have Yelp.
If there's a new place, you can look at Yelp. You can look at Google reviews.
Yeah.
And you can be like, oh, that place is good. I'll go.
And people want that new fun, interesting thing.
People want the new fun thing. Yeah. But before, it was like too risky to try it.
Oh my gosh.
That's
mind blown.
Yes, it all comes back to smartphones.
So really,
it was just smartphones.
Smartphones and how it affects every aspect of our lives.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's interesting. That was a really good Ask Reddit.
That was fun.
That was fun. We should do like more Reddit-based game/discussions. It was fun guessing.
Oh, that was really cool. Okay.
I totally agree with all of them. Some I might not have guessed without prompting.
Yeah.
But like as soon as I had some prompting, I was like, oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing. Let us know if we like Reddit somehow missed something. Like, are there any other trends of the 2010s that like we didn't talk about? Because this is a very interesting topic.
This is super interesting.
The topic we just did. That was interesting. Moving on.
I found it interesting.
Thing of the week. My thing of the week is something that I am going to do right after this. I have been like having sore shoulders, sore necks, sore just like
I feel like you're
body
always
and-
having ailments.
I'm just getting old.
Last week,
I know everyone
it
who's
was
older
about-
than me is going to say you aren't old, but it's the relative change. You know,
Last
it's
week,
like
your pick. Well, this wasn't about getting old, but last week your pick was Band-Aids. It's all like Evan is not doing well physically.
it's always something.
There's always something.
But it's a hot cold pillow tube. I'm not sure the best way to describe this.
It's like a long bean bag.
It's like a long bean bag that you heat in the microwave, but like this one's great. It has like rice, it has like lavender, it has
It
like
smells so good.
it's an aromatherapy thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Like Katelyn sometimes will steal it just to like
just to smell it.
just
and
to
have
smell it
something
and have some
warm.
warm around her shoulders. So it's really comfortable. You microwave it and it's a nice moist heat. And I don't understand how it works,
I don't either.
but it works
But it is like
really
a
well.
moist heat, which sounds unpleasant, but it's really nice.
It's really nice.
It really is like aromatherapy, and like it feels good on your muscles. And
Yeah.
it's like sometimes I'll just get cold, and I'm like, I'm gonna go heat up that thing. I'm
I'm gonna go heat up that pillow tube.
gonna heat up that pillow tube.
So
We haven't used it cold, so you can use it cold too.
yeah. You
put it
can put it in your freezer and then you can use
Oh.
it to like cold treat things too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so nice.
It's so nice.
We got one because like my mom had one, and when we visited the last time we were there, you
your
tried
mom
it
prepped
out,
it for me
and you were like, oh,
I want that.
I want that.
So we got that.
Yeah.
And we will not be DIYing it.
No.
Unless,
Well, we need a sewing machine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on. Katelyn, what's your pick?
Okay. So we discovered a new podcast, which is funny because we were talking about podcasts earlier. The way we discovered it is because William Osman tweeted about it because he was on an episode.
Yeah, and he linked it to YouTube.
And he linked it, and then we watched his interview on it. Anyways, the podcast is the Create Unknown podcast,
It's a really kind of behind the scenes YouTubery podcast.
which is
So-
why we love it.
Why we love it. I mean, but
It's
you
very
know,
much behind the scenes.
they talk about like they talk to Veritasium, they talk to William Osman, they talk to Casey Neistat, they've
There's
talked
a bunch
to
of people.
a lot of other big people, but also the people who run it are the people behind Vsauce 2, which is their own, in its own right, a very successful YouTube channel. And they just talk about a lot of interesting things like life, YouTube.
I mean, as you guys know, we love talking about YouTube stuff. Like a lot of our podcast topics, we're talking about YouTube stuff. So it's fun to hear other people talk about it for us.
It is. I mainly it's YouTubers talking to other YouTubers,
About YouTube.
mainly about YouTube.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
It's a very
'Cause they're
interesting,
also-
candid sneak peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, and like I feel like it gives some insights to the future of YouTube also.
Yeah.
Potentially, because like they theorize about that, and it's just really fascinating. And it's really well put together, and like the videos are cool too. They
Oh,
do
yeah.
a thing where they have guests, and they have like a whole TV wall behind them where the guest face appears.
And it's not a green screen.
No, it's not a green screen. It's
No,
actually
it's like a
TVs.
whole bunch of analog TVs with the guest face all over it.
It's really cool.
It's cool.
But yeah,
And
so
it definitely makes me inspired. Like if we have another guest on here digitally, I want to like put them on the green screen in a TV.
which
Wouldn't that be great?
I was thinking, what if it's just their face that fills up like the entire green screen, and
Oh.
they're just giant.
Like and their nose is right here.
Yeah, so
it's
we
like
can,
their
like,
nose
pick their
hair.
nose.
Their nose hair is right here.
Yeah, that'd
Okay.
be cool too. That's an option.
Yeah.
We're considering it.
So if you want us to keep on growing and be able to pull in awesome big guests in the future, you know what you should do? You should share the podcast. Maybe rate it 5 stars on iTunes.
Yeah,
We would
yeah,
appreciate that. We
maybe.
still read every review that you write.
We do.
And we appreciate you guys who have like given some to combat that 1 star. We've seen you guys. We appreciate you guys. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
And if you have any intros you want to submit, tweet at us with the hashtag EK intro. What is it?
EK Podcast Intros.
EK podcast intros, and then we can see it.
See you next time.
Bye.